I think you've got to get messy now. You've got to start learning and experimenting. There are obviously going to be different degrees of people on how much they know in any organization. And we've been very deliberate at Clarity about taking everybody with us on that journey. But the realities are you don't want just to turn up in 2 or 3 or 4 months' time and decide you're now going to engage with it, because everybody else is going to be ahead of you and they will be disproportionately advantaged.
Hey, welcome back to Women Disrupting Tech, and thank you for tuning in to episode 156. I'm your host, Dirk Jan Hupkes, and this is the podcast that closes the funding gap in venture capital by amplifying the stories of female founders and their investors. You're probably aware of the term SEO and how it can improve the ranking of your website on Google. But with the launch of tools like ChatGPT, Claude, Perplexity, and Gemini, GEO, or Generative Engine Optimization, is becoming more important. In fact, according to my guest in this episode, 65% of B2B buyers are using GPTs or large language models to identify and shortlist vendors. To discuss the impact of this, I'm joined by Rachel Gilley. Rachel has spent her career in technology communications, and she is now the CEO at Clarity Global. In today's episode, Rachel argues that online visibility and trust building has fundamentally changed. It's no longer a question of how do we get coverage, it's how do we show up when AI is answering our customers' questions. In this episode, you'll learn why LLMs ignore brands with inconsistent messaging and what you can do about it. You'll also learn how a deliberate geo strategy drove a 300% increase in AI citations for Monday.com, and why having a human in the loop remains vital for building trust with AI tools and their users. We'll also cover why sponsoring women is more effective than mentoring them if we want to support women in tech on their career journeys, and what the difference between sponsoring and mentoring looks like in practice. Today's episode is one that has already changed how I think about my own work. It has triggered me to review my website materials and change part of my approach on the fundingcoach.ai tool. Therefore, I think it's safe to say that the insights from this episode are relevant and important for companies large and small. So when you're ready to discover how female founders can build a brand that AI can't ignore, here's my conversation with Rachel Gilley. So Rachel Gilley, welcome to Women Disrupting Tech. Good to have you on the podcast. It's actually so videotaped, and we're in the office of Edge Workspaces in Amsterdam. So you're the CEO of Clarity Global. Tell us how you got there.
How did I get there? Well, lovely to be here. Thank you for having me. So I think I've been in the technology industry for too many years. I actually started out, I think probably my father was the person who got me into it years and years ago, talking about, technology. It's going to be big, this technology thing. And then I just started following those trends, knew I wanted to get into comms. And then when an agency job came up which specialized in technology, I thought actually that was my opening. So I've spent most of my career working with technology companies, started out with the big enterprise players like the HPs, the Dells, etc. And then found my way through different agencies and ended up here at Clarity, where I've now been for 7 years.
How is it?
Fantastic. I love working in independent agencies. I think I'm in one of the most exciting sectors, B2B technology. Never a dull day. So much to know and learn and digest. And I'm just surrounded by fantastic people who do some really, really engaging, purposeful, impactful work for our clients.
So out of curiosity, you work with a lot of different clients. How do you keep educated, and how do you sift through what is meaningful, especially with AI coming up now, and what is not meaningful to you and to your clients?
Yes. I mean, I think and this is probably stands for everybody, there is so much that you could be reading, so many opinions, so many hot takes. I think you could read 24 hours a day and still never get on top of it all. So I think you have to be quite disciplined about what you read and how much you want to engage with. And I think, and that's something I actually work quite hard at. I think, I guess the other filter is our clients, because obviously that's predominantly who we're serving. And I think we say the same thing to them. There's an awful lot of noise out there. The only thing that actually matters is how are our clients, buyers engaging, particularly with AI. And as a result of that, anything else that isn't having that impact is noise. Just concentrate on the stuff that is and be focused on that.
So you're actually focusing on the clients of your clients then?
Yes, essentially. I mean, that's the business we're in. And I think that keeps us true, because that's critically what we're trying to reach is that reputation piece.
So how are AI tools changing how comms work?
Yes, so an extraordinary, this last even 6 months has been extraordinary. So I think probably 2 ways. I think first of all, how work is being produced. So I think it's already starting to remove that admin layer. Formatting, cutting and pasting, basic coding, first draft research. And I think, of course, what that's allowing, it's allowing our teams to actually get much further ahead in the areas where we know we make a real difference, where the human is still needed, which is strategy, critical thinking, creativity. Those are the elements, the client relationships. AI is never going to replace that.
Okay, because that was my question. What is AI not going to replace?
Exactly.
The strategy layer.
The strategy layer, I think.
Does AI it come in though? Because I talked to quite a few founders and they all tell me, well, I use AI to strategize.
I think it's the nuance of the strategy. An AI platform isn't going to understand the political context of a media crisis. It's not necessarily going to be able to read a client's anxiety in a room. Those are the elements that actually a human's going to be there. So yes, use it to help lay out what might look like a very good framework or approach, which is a strategy you could adopt. But actually it's the human expertise, the knowledge, the relationships, which is actually going to deliver the results that you need.
Okay, so it's mostly, it can be a tool that can help you, but it's not fully going to replace.
AI is only a tool. Humans are going to be needed.
How do you persuade your customers if they're totally AI is going to do everything I need to do?
I think the very fact that we're probably in the room with them at the time is sort of underpins the fact we're here because you need us, or you would already be doing it yourselves. That's not to say that some of what we provide for our clients in 18 months, 2 years' time will change. But I think it's about running senior consultant level advice for our clients. It's running lean teams so the clients can see the benefits of using third parties, which give them different thoughts, different approaches. And also agency means we're working with lots of clients in maybe similar sectors. And actually that knowledge is quite important for clients. Otherwise, they're only ever looking at it through one lens, which is their own.
But that you can actually use it to sort of say, okay, we've experienced this at client A, so you might be running into this at some point in the near future as well.
Trends, we might be following regulation that's happening at a government level, which actually is going to impact them at some point, which might not have been relevant before. All of that makes up the experience to enable us to give better consultancy.
Okay, so what I'm hearing you say is you use it as a sort of, really as a sort of analysis tool to also select again the content that is relevant for clients.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, cool. So what's one thing that you see companies are still doing wrong in the tech space?
Yes, I mean, where do we see it going? So I think, we've touched on it a bit here. AI is amazing on content, it's doing videos, it's doing images. But like I say, the human is still going to be necessary. We work with some very large enterprise clients at the moment, and they wouldn't expect us to be producing content without somebody who understands all the context of the journey that they've been on as a business. So editorial control of a lot of what we do is absolutely paramount. So I think companies, we have done some prospecting meetings where clients say, oh, we won't need you for any of that. We do that all on our AI platform.
Okay.
And our first concern is, well, actually, we've got to be very concerned about what we're pushing out for you because we don't know what sort of guardrails have been put around that. Are we saying things that are correct? Has it been fact checked? So that's very important for us and our reputation as a consultancy.
Yeah.
I think that we are still reading that AI is going to replace traditional search, and that's just not the case.
Okay.
I think the elements that are going to make AI search incredibly important, good content, good narrative, third-party editorial that is coming out, all of those things still ring true.
Yeah.
So I think if you're already doing the basics, you're in a good place anyway.
Okay.
What else have I seen? Oh yes, we have heard some clients saying there's so much AI noise out there, things are changing so quickly. We're just going to sit back and wait for a bit.
Yeah.
I'm like, no, that is not the approach you can.
Why not?
I think you've got to get messy now. You've got to start learning and experimenting. There are obviously going to be different degrees of people and how much they know in any organization.
Yeah.
And we've been very deliberate at Clarity about taking everybody with us on that journey. But the realities are you don't want just to turn up in 2 or 3 or 4 months' time and decide you're now going to engage with it because everybody else is going to be ahead of you and they will be disproportionately advantaged.
Yeah. What would you say to women who are now still on the sideline on AI? Because what I see and what I read also is that there are women going into AI, but they're generally less far ahead in their journey compared to men, because men just go in head first and then just really get messy.
Right, really get messy. I mean, I can't speak to those stats on that. I think maybe certainly in the B2B tech space, there's more men than there are women, which is a challenge in its own right. So maybe in a volume perspective, that's happening. I see a lot of women who are engaging it in a very smart way. A lot of very smart, ambitious entrepreneurial women who know that actually engaging with this early on is going to make them smart.
Yeah.
I see it very much in our sector, which is agencies and consultancies. I think if that is the case and those stats bear out, then I think the advice is the same as I would give everybody. Get involved as quickly as you can. It's not as scary as you think. The advances already, I think, are taking away some of the negative elements that came out when AI first landed.
Yeah.
You know, it's difficult to use. If you don't get your prompts right, it's not going to give you what you want. It hallucinates all the time. The advances in some of these platforms is extraordinary.
Yeah.
And you can engage with it now, and it's very simple. My parents are 85. They use it. You know, so it's like, get involved.
My mother is 88 and she also uses it, not really heavily, but she does use it from time to time.
Yeah.
I want to switch gears a bit because you recently launched a product called Surfaced. And if I understand correctly, it helps companies with their generative engine optimization. Let's first say, what is generative engine optimization and why is it?
Yeah, so GEO, an extension of what was search before, which lots of organizations do. I mean, this was an obvious advance for us as an agency. They already had a well-established SEO team working across our client base on globally. And I think the vernacular around GEO was something that they've been using for quite some time.
Okay.
It's sort of been in the last 6 months that suddenly everybody's become aware and everybody's bandying around the term GEO.
Yeah.
So it's an extension of what I think any very smart technical SEO team was already doing.
Yeah.
We had started to see B2B buyers using AI and the LLMs to surface what they thought were the right vendors they should be targeting. So we were seeing people putting in questions, for example, what is the best CRM system for a small business? And obviously it was then surfacing the vendors that it set.
Yeah.
So we thought, goodness, there's something going on here.
Yeah.
We have a CTO, Will Julian Vickery, on our side. He did research himself and said, you know, looking at our build versus buy strategy as an agency, he's already built us an AI assistant platform that we use called Clara internally. He said, I think there's something here. We were then asking our clients, how are you measuring how your brands are showing up when people are searching? I think the percentage was huge. This was 6-7 months ago. No, we're not tracking it at all.
Yeah.
So we looked at what was out there, realized that we could build something, and Surfaced was born out of that. We did our own research, which actually showed that about 65% of B2B buyers were using those LLMs. So
at that time,
that time. So that was like, okay, now we need to really move forward on this quite quickly.
Part of the market already existed.
Yeah, so I think, I think that's the whole B2B technology space is quite an interesting one anyway. Those sort of key influencers were ahead of the game anyway. They're smart on the tech. They've already been using a lot of the tools. That's a lot of the work they do to identify and shortlist who should be on those vendor lists. That was already ongoing. I think we just saw it, realized we had to do it. But also, how on earth can we consult our clients and tell them the type of activities they should be engaging with if we didn't know where they showed up? So we'll build a tool that essentially took real search prompts that were going on and has built a dashboard which actually tracks how you're showing up against your competitors, how that shows up against all the leading major LLMs, and has given us an ability to see and pinpoint the exact sources and URLs where clients and brands are being surfaced.
Yeah, and with that they can also adjust the content that they have there, get ahead of their competitors because they actually come up, they can tweak their own content in such a way that they can end up as more relevant.
Totally. And of course, what we're starting to see is trends. Now, obviously, this space is moving so quickly, so it may change in the coming months. But there were some key trends that were coming through. So third party, really highly endorsed editorial was making your brand rise up very quickly. So we're seeing those trends coming through. And what's enabling us to do is saying to our clients, actually, your share of voice against two of your top competitors, which is one of the KPIs you've asked us to track for you and improve, is showing that your competitors are doing a lot of video and you're not doing so much. Or actually UGC is huge, so we should be gauging that up. We haven't been looking at trade media as much. We've just been focusing on business, and maybe we should be thinking about that differently.
Are there any general tips that you can give companies on this? How do you determine, I guess, let me start there. How do you determine what they should engage in terms of to get more relevant? And how do you make sure that it keeps track of how LLMs evolve? Because they also change over time.
And I think, one of the things we do say to clients, we launched this to all our clients, so they have a sort of a light version and they can decide to upgrade that depending on additional geographies they want. They might want more prompts, they might want to be able to do more search terms, track against more competitors, etc. I think we're saying you need to track it over time. So you can go in on one day and check it, but actually, if you track that over 2 to 3 weeks, 3 months, it could show you a very different picture. So I think there was a lot of chat going on a couple of months ago. If you're not on Reddit, you're not going to be seen. Well, that might be true for a certain brand in a certain area around certain topics, but that can change. There are some real things that we've definitely seen, as I mentioned, things like trade publications. They will see as high domain because actually they're very, very much invested in producing really thoughtful, authentic content, which is very relevant to that sector. And so we're very much targeting those. So I think we are learning still. There's no experience to fall back on. This is what's so exciting about this area. So we're very open with our clients, very transparent. We're learning together. Let's see what the data is showing us, but let's be smart and let's use the results we're getting to actually train the AI platforms for our benefits to see how we can make it work.
And I think that's also one of the things that, going back to my earlier question about women in AI, if you train yourself now, you set yourself up for success later. It's not a one and done game.
No,
not right now.
No,
especially
absolutely not.
Yes. So you work with Monday.com,
yes.
I think. What is one key lesson from that project that, let's say, you gave your other clients as well? Like, yes, we've seen this with Monday. This you really need
to do. So a fantastic client, Monday.com. Really fast moving, ambitious in what they're trying to achieve. So they produce something called this World of Work report. And from just a purely comms perspective, you think, well, actually, we just need to get coverage for them. And it's a really good, thoughtful report. We wanted it to be recognized in the right places. And actually, what happened is we did get great coverage for them. But what we wanted to do is use that coverage, as I said before, as training data and not just as PR clippings. So what we did is we mapped out through the LLMs, how were they answering questions about the future of work? So we were asking the questions, a whole series of things that we thought people might search under. And then we actually deliberately shaped the story to influence those answers. Because if that is how they're engaging with it, and this is what people are searching for when they're putting in their prompts, what does that throw back? So I think one of the key lessons that we got from that is that brand discoverability is not just about search rankings anymore. It's absolutely critically about how the answers are being surfaced through AI environments, and understanding that and then measuring it is what's going to make your campaign impactful. And I did get the stats from the team on this because I thought they were unbelievably impressive. Even we were astonished by how much. So the result of this was that we saw a 300% increase in citations across LLM platforms. Monday.com's visibility in Google jumped from 5.6% to 11.7%.
So it also transfers back to Google.
Yeah.
So the whole GEO thing that is sort of new is not separate, but also influencing the old-fashioned quote-unquote CEO.
Absolutely. And AI overviews increased from 1.3% to 7.1%. So, we're saying to clients, you shouldn't be asking this is an comms environment. Obviously, it's going to change depending on what service you're just choosing to work with a client or an integrated campaign. But we're saying, don't ask the question, how do we get coverage? You need to be asking the question, how do we show up when AI is answering a customer's question? So you work back from that and not the tactic. So what is the challenge or the problem that a client, a customer is looking to? I know that sounds so obvious and that we know that's what the job is. But if you're led by the tactic and not by what you're trying to solve, AI is going to not, you're just not going to get the results that you want.
Yeah, that's really powerful indeed. And also important to understand for I think for startups as well, because they are building their brand.
Yes.
How important is the outside view here? Because you're an external party to them, you're helping them with their comms. How important is that view? That you're not, let's say, because if you're inside a company, you tend to get focused on what is happening day to day.
Yes.
Versus an external advisor, be that comms, be that legal, whatever, has the outside view. How important is that when you're building a tool?
You're building the tool. The trust has got to be there from the outset. So I think the best relationships we have with our clients are ones where it's a true partnership. We don't see as an executioner. It's a supplier over there just to deliver back in. And I think that's never been more true than it is right now. I think the major element that we are seeing through all the conversations that we're having with our clients is that marketing and PR has to be aligned. So for years we've talked about marketing sits in one building, sales sits in another, PR sits in another. And actually that literally has to change now that AI has come about.
Do you see that happening?
So I think I'm seeing more informed conversations about that happening. And you made a very interesting point there between startups, scale-ups, actually going to enterprise. Much harder for an enterprise business that has a legacy setup with thousands of members of staff, which has done it in a certain way. It's going to take them longer. It's going to require somebody very brave at a senior level to say, we need to change the way that we're structured. Startups have got the moment. If they're smart and they can jump on this moment very quickly, they can structure their organization. So actually it's one voice, consistency of message. It's not saying one thing on its website and another thing in its boilerplate. And then it's got spokespeople saying something different here. And then marketing and brochureware's got something else. It all has to be consistent, or else the LMs will just ignore the inconsistencies and you don't get service.
It treats the differences as noise.
Exactly. So it just ignores, it's not, for them, it doesn't become really highly endorsed content.
So Clarity is a B Corp, it's B Corp certified. And AI raises questions about energy use and job displacement. How do you balance that when you're building something like Surfaced?
Yes. So I don't think the industry's got the perfect answer to this at all. How do we see it? So both from energy and from people, if I start with the people element, we certainly don't see AI as replacing jobs. Now, we are a lean agency. We're one of the huge consolidated global agencies. So we're in an advantageous position from that perspective. We have only seen AI have a multiplier effect within our organization. It's simply not reductive. It is allowing us to bring people in where I think juniors, we don't want to hire people to do admin. It's going to enable us to hire juniors who are critical thinkers, who are potentially going to be AI native, who are going to come into our organizations, be able to start up the ladder much faster than they would have done previously. So they're going to have access to so much information and structure that they're going to be able to offer strategy much earlier on in their career, which I think is a really refreshing approach. So I think, we don't see, certainly in the way that we're operating and the conversations that we're having with our clients, is very much, this has enabled us. Yes, there's some time efficiencies without a doubt that it gives us, but it means that we can devote more time to where we know we can deliver impact for you. So we're having fantastic conversations with clients about how we can use that to better the purpose and the impact we're achieving for.
Do you see it increase the amount of time you have to do critical thinking?
Yes, without a doubt. I mean, the time that was spent delivering some of the research for a client, which could well have taken a team 3 or 4 days. Key searching, reading lots of information. Yes, it still needs to be checked, but AI can produce so much for you and give you that first version that allows you to take different approaches. And that extra time for a client is imperative. Clients' budgets are tight at the moment. The world is a chaotic environment. People are concerned about what the future is going to look like. So every moment we spend with a client has got to be delivering something back for them. And so anything that's going to enable us to deliver better consultancy, smarter results at this time is critical.
How do you deal with going back to the original question on being B Corp certified? How do you deal with the energy?
Yeah. So and we've been asked about that, and actually, in fact, we've approached B Corp on this as well, because how are we going to deal with the fact that we know the energy consumption from AI is extraordinary. So in actual fact, I don't think clarity's going to find the solution to this, without a doubt. I think our approach is very much that we have to be thoughtful about why we build and how we use the tools that we're going to be creating. Surface is the first on a product roadmap that we've got. It exists because our clients do need to measure what they're doing. This is a real moment in time, and it's not something we can ignore or sit on the sidelines and look at. So we have to engage with it. So I think as a B Corp, we apply the same lens that we do to AI that we do to everything else. And I think essentially we've got to judge ourselves on what we do and not what we say. So it's a moving feast. Be considered. I think we need to see what others in the industry are going to do, guidelines that are going to be provided for us to consider it. We don't have an immediate fix. That is for sure. So,
It's still, jury is still out there. I think so too. And it's indeed, if you do the conversation together with B Corp, but also with clients to figure out, hey, what do we see as commensurate in terms of energy use? Then you can also go back to the, and also screen, I think, the tools that you're using, like, okay, does this help us meet the goals?
Completely. And how much of that do we need to do in order to deliver what we've said we're going to? Yeah, absolutely.
So you said Surface is the first product on the roadmap.
Yes.
Can you give us a sneak preview on what the rest will be like? Maybe not exactly, but
I can nudge towards what we've done with this the search and discoverability element has been very exciting, and I think we're just starting to see how that's driving through. I think there's a sort of more of a reputation lens that we also want to see how a client's showing up. In sort of, how people trusting them, how are they engaging with them, what makes a company really trustworthy, credible. And I think that's a sort of another extension of where we're at.
Is that more, let's say, projection based, or is that more like, okay, what has happened in the past and this is the end result?
Yes, I don't think it's necessarily, I think AI is going to enable us through a lot of what we're going to be doing, sort of conjecture. What do we see? What are the trends showing us? If it continues as is, what would it look like? But I think this is more of, if people were searching today and the types of prompts they're putting in, our tool at the moment is very much about how are they searched and then how are they discovered. I think, how do people engage with them and their views of them, their perceptions? I think that's a really fascinating area for us, because it's very much going to help support us on the types of messaging and the narrative that we think our clients should be putting out into the market, what they stand for, where their values are, how important that is to their customers. So I think that's probably one of the next areas that we will be looking to move into.
Thanks for sharing. So, 3 things left. You and I both have a passion for women in leadership. You are a woman in leadership. But if you look at, in general also, I think the percentage of women in leadership is quite small.
Yes.
I read somewhere that as a woman, you have a bigger chance of becoming head of state than you are of being a founder of a unicorn. My question to you is, how can men help change this? Because I don't think this is a woman's game, but it's a game we need to play together. So how can the men help?
Yes. And I've been lucky in my career. I've been championed by some wonderful people, a lot of who were men, true allies who have been extremely instrumental to my success. I think one of the single most powerful things men could do is be a sponsor for women. And I say that as opposed to being a mentor. Mentoring is advice over coffee. Sponsoring is actually, when you're in the room as a man and the woman isn't, you are actually putting them forward for the job, or suggesting that they should be in the board seat, or you're the one making an introduction to an investor. And I think if men can engage at that level, then they are a true ally. And I think that will support the process very much.
Why is that important, that men actually do the next step over mentoring over coffee, really speaking up for women?
Because mentoring is a one-on-one thing. They can show their support, they can give guidance, but actually they need to be in the room where the decisions are made. I mean, I often say, if you look at your board to clients, you look at your board and it looks the same now as it did 5 years ago. That's a choice. And actually, what we should be doing is very much looking at who's in the room and who are you listening to. You know, whose CVs get through to that final round, who actually gets the final check. And that's not going to happen with you meeting someone for a coffee. It's going to happen when you're in a room and there's more men around the table than there's women, and in some instances there's no women at all. How are you changing that dynamic? And I think that's hugely important.
Is that the discussion you have with your customers as well?
Yes, I'm very...
Going back to the reputation part?
Yes, I mean, quite often we'll get approached by lots of fascinating companies, and the first thing I do is I go onto their website and I check out their board. And if the only female on there is the head of people and culture, I feel irritated straight off the bat. Now, if we want to work for them because they're an innovative client, it's one of the first questions we ask when we start engaging with them. Actually, all the stats have proved to you that having women on your board and having leadership roles will increase the productivity of your organization. So where's it going wrong? And how do you answer the question that you don't have that? Now, I'm seeing less of that. And sometimes, again, that's in legacy businesses that have been in place for an awful long time. So I think that's hugely important. You know, I don't think less female unicorns because women are less capable or less ambitious.
No.
I think it's simply because the system keeps routing capital and opportunities through the same systems that have always existed. So we need people to be brave and change the systems.
Okay, we'll get to that part in a bit. Before we go there, you are sponsoring and maybe even co-organizing an event on women's health.
Yes.
I was curious, what made you interested in that area?
Yes. So I think a number of different factors. I think in a business level, part of our organization runs something called the FemTech Alliance. It's a very successful trade body, getting lots of people in health and health tech together to talk about the issues that matter, both at a policy level and communications levels, etc. So that was the first part. We have got a large proportion of our team are females,
Yeah.
and who feel very passionate about this, as do I, and have some personal experience of engaging with systems that simply do not recognize that 51% of the population are actually women, and nobody has done enough research into it, which even saying the words is extraordinary.
Yeah.
So the opportunity to start driving more of those conversations around health tech. I think post-COVID, health tech really surged in terms of the organizations that were out there, the investment that was going into this sector. So it's exciting anyway. If you were looking at sectors you wanted to engage with, health is absolutely one of them. And we've got a number of really exciting clients in that space. Then there's been lots of policy decisions, strategies that have been put in place, certainly in the UK.
Yeah.
And it was a moment for us to jump on those and say, actually, we want to be part of those discussions. We're very proud to be involved with them. And I think it's going to be a fascinating discussion. I'm hoping we're going to have more of those. I think the more that we can talk about gynecological issues, fertility, menopause, and the fact it does not get to the same level of research and investment and consideration is something that has to change.
Yeah. Absolutely. Another thing, going back to our earlier discussion, is underfunding of women businesses in general.
Yes.
So I'm building an AI tool to help female founders get better access to funding. It's called fundingcoach.ai. Basically, it helps founders with screening pitch decks and also connecting them directly with investors. So being that person in the room who then tells investors, hey, you need to look at this.
Fantastic. What a great space to be in.
Yeah, I think so too. And it's also very exciting and easier than ever with AI.
Yes, absolutely.
So that I can absolutely tell you. So from your perspective, what does that tool need to get right to build trust on both sides? So both on the female founder side, but also on the investor side.
Yes, and trust is going to be critical there because people have tried to do this before, so why hasn't it worked? And at a very basic level is what is the human involvement in there? I think if you're going to need a human in the loop, a founder needs to know that actually the investor cares, a founder needs to know that there's a human there who cares whether the founder, gets the funding.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, an investor needs to know that that they can actually vouch as a human that's vouched for what it is they're presenting. An algorithm talking to an algorithm.
Yeah, otherwise it becomes agentic AI bots talking to bots.
Exactly. And trust is born out of being able to see the whites of individuals' eyes and know and trust the direction that they're going in. So if you're providing a platform that's at least bringing those discussions together, using what you're seeing as expert advice to make sure that people show up in the best possible way, what a fantastic platform to be building. The element that's going to be imperative on that then is actually when do people come together?
Yeah.
And I've said this, I think AI is going to transform so much, but I think there's going to be a surge in events and the gathering of communities together in the future. I think that's going to be huge because I think people are going to crave human contact, conversation. I think it was gathering anyway. Post-COVID, people had missed it and I've started to see it pick up again. There's lots of conferences, etc. But I see a lot of groups to, let's get together, 15 people, let's talk about what's going on in your world. And I think I'm seeing lots of that happen. And I think we would very much, in our own sectors that we operate in, would like to be the creator of communities where we bring people together to talk about topics that are hugely relevant. So something like you're doing here is fantastic. You're giving them the platform that enables them and gives them the confidence that they can show up in the right way. It's then the element of the human bit on the top of that, I guess, that's going to be critical.
Yeah, I think that's indeed really important to have the human in the loop and also the human visibly in the loop.
Yes.
To both ends, so that people see, okay, this is not just a bot that is connecting people, but or an algorithm connecting people. It's just sort of almost handmade.
Yes.
And tailored.
Absolutely. Yeah, very much.
The challenge there is, of course, to use AI in a way that it does scale, but that it doesn't come across as fake.
Exactly, because that I mean, it's an overused word, authenticity, I know,
Yeah.
and everything being authentic, but never has that been more true. If anybody gets a sniff that it could potentially be,
Yeah.
they're just not going to engage.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to get smarter and savvier at that.
And that's beautiful.
It is.
Part of the world we
Yes.
live in. So Rachel Gilley, thank you very much for an amazing interview. If people would like to learn more about you, about Clarity, or about Surface, where would you like to send them?
So clarity.global is our agency website.
Yeah.
Surface.com if they want to know more about the AI tool.
Yeah.
I'm on LinkedIn, which I'm on a lot, learning and engaging with lots of people on there as a platform. So yes, they can get hold of me on any of those.
And we'll include those links in the show notes. So once again, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Listeners, thank you very much for listening. And until the next episode, as always, keep being awesome. Well, that's it. Thank you for listening to episode 156 of Women Disrupting Tech, titled How Female Founders Can Build a Brand That AI Can't Ignore, with Rachel Gilley. Rachel and I hope you found our conversation as useful and inspiring as we intended it to be, and I want to thank Marlieke Tijman and the team at Clarity in Amsterdam for their hospitality and help in putting this episode together. If you have any questions for Rachel, you can leave them in the comment sections on Spotify, YouTube and/or Apple Podcasts. I do read all the comments and I'll make sure you get an answer. If you want to connect with Rachel or learn more about Clarity and their geo tool Surface, please check out the links in the show notes. As usual, you can find the show notes at womendisruptingtech.blog and on my Substack via the links in the caption. There you can also find a link to my new fundingcoach.ai tool. If you found this episode useful, please take a moment to rate and review the show on Spotify, Apple Podcast or YouTube. And if you don't follow us yet, hit the follow or subscribe button so you never miss a future episode. Once again, thank you for listening. I hope to see you in the next episode, and until then, as always, keep being awesome.